Hello, everyone. Welcome to the New Author Podcast. Today is, I don't know what it is, Rich. It's Friday, right? Friday,
Yeah,
December
December
the
6th.
December 6th. Oh,
6th.
that's a World War II date, I think, right? Isn't that
No,
no?
tomorrow.
Oh, is it December 7th? Is that the atom?
Yeah.
No, the atomic bomb was August. Is that the victory in Europe?
No, it's
Surrender?
Pearl Harbor Day.
Oh, that's Pearl Harbor Day. I knew it was one of them.
Yeah.
I couldn't remember which
Yeah.
one it was. It's Pearl Harbor Day. Have you ever been there?
You know how I know that?
How?
Because a 91-year-old ex-librarian called me up today, and she does this to all the branches and just harasses them all the time, asking them weird, obscure facts and uh wanting, and if you don't get the answer right, she calls to the main office and complains
Oh,
that
jeez.
that there are no nothing people working at the
Suddenly you're
libraries
on a quiz
nowadays.
show.
Yeah, exactly. And I just got lucky because that either this morning or the day yesterday, I heard somebody say that it was going to be Pearl Harbor Day on Saturday,
Hmm.
so I got
Have you ever
lucky.
been there? Have you ever been to Pearl Harbor?
Yes, actually, I have.
Yeah.
I've been to Oahu, and I never took the tour, but I was down
Oh,
there, I could see it and all that. But
oh,
yeah,
we took the tour
okay,
when Lindsay lived in Hawaii. We went out there in 2014, and it was pretty cool. Yeah, it was
yeah.
pretty
Oh, I
awesome.
bet it was. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Anyway, it's episode 289, and joining me is the guy who knows about Pearl Harbor Day, Rich Kacy. Rich, how are you? Other than knowing you're giving us your knowledge of what December 7th is compared to mine.
I'm doing okay, but like I told you before we started recording, I have done absolutely no writing the last couple of weeks. I did come up with a couple of good quotes, though. Both from author friends of mine that I just happened to be chatting with. One of them, and I don't know if maybe this came from Nolte. I can't remember, but the fact that authors in today's environment, you really have to embrace the fearlessness to fear. You have to get rid of your fear and just not worry about whether you succeed or you fail or whatever. Just do your best, and it's so much luck. In fact, the other thing that there was I don't know if you saw it today. There was an interview uh, or an article written about Brandon Sanderson in the Guardian
No.
today, and basically Brandon Sanderson saying, I owe all my success to pure luck. So
I think that's right. Yeah, I think that's right
yeah,
for most people in most of the things they do. I think there's a
right,
bit of
right,
luck to it. Right place, right
right,
time, that kind of thing. So
right.
it's funny that you
And then
mentioned
that,
Sanderson because I'm going to talk about him later. So I don't know if you
oh,
saw that in the
cool.
outline or not, but I'm going to talk about him later. So yeah.
No, I didn't see any outline. And the other quote that I thought was just, it's kind of linked to this other one about being fearless in what you do. I was talking to another friend of mine, a woman who writes romance, and she said, "Well, I got to hang up now because this Christmas smut is not going to write itself." And,
That's funny. That
yeah.
sounds like what's her name on the podcast with James Blatch?
Oh yeah.
What's her Cara Claire.
Cara. Yeah.
She's
Cara Claire.
yeah. That I can't tell you how much I love that podcast. It's so much fun. And then I also listened to that Red and Buried podcast that you mentioned a
Yeah.
few weeks ago. I
Yeah.
really like it. I like the way she
Yeah.
interviews. It's different from like a writing podcast interviewing a writer. Since she's a reader, the
Right.
questions are different. I really like the way that she interviews people.
Right. Right. I like kind of like although it's mostly trad center, I kind of like the advice that
Yeah.
the two agents are given.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. No. This is the one. This is the one where Frankie interviews the writers. You're thinking of the one with shit in the title.
Oh yeah, you're right. You're right.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
that one
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
didn't particularly care for that one, but I only listened to
Okay.
one, so maybe I should try it again.
Okay.
But
Okay.
I do like the Red and Buried one. So,
Yeah, I've been listening to the Scrivener one uh,
oh
this
yeah,
week pretty heavily, and that one was pretty good.
I thought
Uh,
I subscribed to that, and I haven't gotten any new ones. I'll have to look into that once we're done. Yeah, because I really want to listen to that one too. Okay, so let me jump into my stats here. For the new listeners, I'm not going to go through all that. Let me just say that book 7 in the series is up 7,860 words. This is over 2 weeks. Currently sitting at 19,270. I did not get near as many words as I wanted to. I have many reasons for that. Some of them are centered around snow that I'll talk about later. I hate Ohio so much. My running total for the year is up to 189,964. So I'm under 11,000 from getting to 200,000, which is pretty cool. Even though my goal was 240, still be pretty excited to get to 200,000. It's a nice big round number. So, and then my average words per hour is sitting at 1,138. 2 weeks ago when we talked, I set a goal of 3,000 words for the previous week because I really only had 2 days to write, and I actually beat that goal. I hit like 4,100 or something like that. But then for this past week, had we podcast, I would have set a goal of 7,500, which I was nowhere near. I may have gotten 1,500 words, 2,000 words, something like that. I didn't even add it up. Again, I have many excuses, and I'll talk about those as I get through my weeks.
Yeah. In terms of my stats, the book I had just finished, which was sitting right around 55,000 words. I erased it, so I can't remember the exact number. I thought I was going to do some editing while I was gone during the Christmas, the Thanksgiving week. None of that happened. I don't know. It's my family. It just happens when your parents get old and stuff. My mother took a tumble, split her head open again, ended up in the hospital again. Is now in rehab again. But it was hilarious because my sister called an ambulance, got her to the hospital, and then when she went to the hospital, into my mom's room, she goes, "Mom, were you doing something that you shouldn't have been doing?"
No.
And my mother looked at her and goes, "Maybe." And she goes, "Were you doing something I'm going to be mad about when I hear about?" My mother goes, "Probably."
Oh, jeez.
She's 93 years old. She had somebody coming over that was going to help her decorate. And so, my mother's one of those people where you have to clean before people can come over to your house. And she was trying to move some card tables, not card tables, but TV tray tables around. And my mother can't really get around without a walker. So I can envision what was happening. She was using this TV tray as kind of a walker as she moved it from one place to another, and the thing collapsed on her.
Oh,
yeah.
Geez.
So she got 11 staples in her head, but no concussions. So that was good.
Good that she's okay.
Yeah, and then my father-in-law was ill, and then my sister's friend got ill and was in the hospital. So yeah, there was a lot going on during that. And then this past week, when I finally got back home, I just basically went to work and worked and didn't do much else. I mean, we had to do all the laundry and everything else in the off hours. So it's been a busy couple of weeks, but not really anything productive in terms of writing. But maybe that's good. I mean, maybe it's good to let it set. I haven't looked at the story for 2 weeks now. When I get back to it, I'll probably have pretty fresh eyes in order to look at it.
Yeah. Mine was similar where I got, I didn't get many words written down, or as many as I could have, but for me, it was actually productive in terms of, being an author or writing, because I did so many other things that we'll talk about. So,
good.
Let me go ahead and jump into my week recap here. This is going to be a 2-week recap. As usual, when we miss a week, I usually try to go back 2 weeks and talk, especially since some of the stuff that happened during these 2 weeks. We're going to go all the way back to 2 weeks ago, 2 Saturdays ago. Started out at Chick-fil-A. And the first thing that I did is I had to sit down and and I don't know how you do this, but one of the first things I try to do, and I usually fail until I start writing, and then I realize at some point, I have to do this, is I try to determine the time of year that my story is taking place, so that it makes sense when you're outside, how you feel, what the weather's like, all that good stuff. I don't know. What do you do there? Do you care about that? Do you worry about it early on or late? Like, what do you do?
No, I worry about it early on, but then especially in my first draft, I have a habit of jumping seasons and jumping months when I don't really mean to. But I look at that and I say, well, that I don't do in the first draft. I don't do a lot of detailed environmental descriptions. I do just enough in order in my mind to place the character in where they're at, and then what I really want to do is I want to get into the character interactions and filling in a lot of that other scene setting stuff, except for the first chapter. Throughout the rest of the chapters, I wait for the second draft basically.
Okay.
So it doesn't bug me too much that I jump around seasons, unless I start off in midsummer, and then a week or two has gone by, and suddenly my character is falling through the ice or something.
Yeah.
And so that can cause a problem. But
I'm similar to, whereas I don't really think about it until halfway through the first draft, and then I have to go back as part of my second draft and actually edit it all in, which is what I'm doing here. I decided this is going to be kind of a Christmas story a little bit. I decided this story is going to take place about 3 weeks before Christmas, and unfortunately, the first few chapters that I already written, I had it in the middle of summer. So I did make a note in each chapter in my Scrivener in the notes section to make sure that I redo the parts where I have people walking around in bathing suits and going into the ocean and stuff like that. So That was the first thing I did. Then I got a total of 1,607 words written. This is finishing chapter 6 and starting chapter 7. At this point, I'm at 27 chapters. Right now, I'm at 28, but at this point, I'm at 27. So I'm about, maybe a quarter of the way through. And then in the evening, I didn't do much. Played my football game, watched some college football, watched some YouTube, went to bed. Kind of a typical Saturday for me nowadays when I'm not golfing.
You mentioning writing a Christmas story, or you're gonna make it right around Christmas, and you can't have people walking around in bathing suits. Now I want to write a Christmas story set in Tahiti or something like that.
Right, right.
Yeah.
Well, there's a podcast I listen to. It's a fantasy football podcast, but they're all based in Arizona and they've been there their whole life. And they opened up their podcast, I think it was 2 days ago, basically saying, "Well, I don't like this. It's Christmas. It's Christmas time. I don't have the Christmas spirit because it's 85 degrees outside."
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I couldn't. And that's the one thing. I hate snow with a passion. But I feel like if I lived in the South, not having it in December would be kind of weird. Other than that, go away and never come back. But
Right.
but I think I'd want it like on the 24th and 25th and maybe the 26th, and that's it.
It is weird. I mean, when we were at my in-laws on Thanksgiving, we did get some snow flurries, and that was kind of nice. So it kind of put me in the mood. Came back here, and although it's decent during the day, it's been in the low 60s or so. At night, it's getting down to freezing. So it's actually feeling a little bit like Christmas.
Yeah, well, that's good. So let's see. Okay, so now let's talk about this is Sunday morning. So I was up around 7. I made this is where I'm just Panera, and there's no Browns game because they played Monday night last week, right? Yeah, they played Monday night. So
Yep.
this is 3 straight Sundays without the Browns because they were off, then they played Thursday, then they played Monday. And usually when that happens, I know that I'm going to watch football all day, but I'm also going to be able to do a lot of things. So I made this giant list of things to do. It had about 12 things on it. Sadly, it's in the other room where I would read it off to you. But I managed to do a little bit like dishes and garbage and cleaning up my kitchen, things like that. That was in the morning before I went to Panera. And then I went to Panera, and while I was eating, this is before I started writing, I did check out the Author Nation website. I was listening to the James Blatch and Cara Claire podcast, and they were kind of talking about Blatch was talking about the recap, and then they mentioned like maybe a deal had come out or something like that for next year's tickets, and I was just really curious
Right.
what it looked like. So I checked it out. And the James Blatch Cara Claire podcast was really good. It was all about this episode was all about AI and all the lawsuits that were out there. And I'm not gonna recap it here because James did a really, really good job of recapping it. I would say go listen to their podcast. I'll actually link to it in the show notes if you want to listen to it. But they basically said that the courts seem to be siding with AI under fair use, which is
Right.
very similar to what I watch on YouTube when I watch people react to stuff, which I'll talk about later. So it seems like all these lawsuits are kind of dying because you're not like, I'm not going to AI and it's giving me a paragraph word for word from a Stephen King book, and then I'm using that in my book. It's kind of summarizing from millions and millions and millions of different words, and then it's putting out what it thinks it should put out. And that's kind of
Right.
what the courts are saying. So again, go listen to it. It's really good.
Yeah.
I can't summarize it here.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, at the time a lot of those lawsuits hit, people, especially authors, had a very kind of a fundamental misunderstanding of how the large language models work. In that, I can see on one hand their argument. You essentially took my book and used the words to train your model, but when they say train the model, they don't understand that all they were doing is developing statistical probabilities of how often word X follows word Y.
Right.
And that's the way in which those models operate. And they could have done that just as easily by going to a library, checking your book out, and scanning it if they wanted to.
Yeah, I mean, isn't that what the writers will say to us? The ones that are up on stage, they'll say, "Hey, one of the ways that you can become a really good writer is read a lot." I mean, isn't that
Right.
telling us to do the same thing?
Yeah, exactly. It's the meat bag form of what the LLM models are doing.
Yeah.
And the other thing I just want to mention quickly before you go on is I've heard a lot of good things about the Author Nation gathering in Las Vegas. Joanna Penn was practically ebullient about it. She said it was one of the few conferences she's ever gone to where she came away feeling like she learned things. So yeah. So I was going to take a look at it. Did you check out what the price was for next year? Or?
So I did not check out the price. I didn't get that far with their website. So I was kind of a little annoyed at their website. It was,
it's not good. Yeah,
I'm very cynical as a person overall. So I go into all this stuff with the attitude of, okay, they're just going to try to get money out of me. That's all this is. And it's probably not true, and I realize that about me. That's one of my faults. But, so I went to the website. and I wanted to check out the digital ticket because I heard,
Mhm.
Blatch talking about it. There's a woman on YouTube, and I can't remember the name of the company that she's with, and it starts with book, which really narrows it down to about 15,000 author companies. But I was watching her YouTube video about it, and she had, same thing, glowing, everything was great, I really enjoyed it, kind of thing. So I checked out. I'm like, well, let me just see, maybe if I can watch some of the videos, I can see what the conferences look like, what the individual sessions look like, that kind of thing. So I went to the website, and you can purchase a digital ticket, which cool. I'm happy to do that. So I went to their site, and in order to get to the point where you can even see the price, you have to fill out your name, address, email address, I believe phone number, although I don't remember if phone numbers on there or not. And then when you click next, that's when you see the price, and that really bugs me.
Yeah.
Because now I've given somebody my email address who may or may not sell it. I'm sure that they're going to say they're not going to. Who knows nowadays,
Right.
whether they will or not. But and the price was actually $349, which I understand is probably a really good price for the content that you get, but it's still $349 to watch a bunch of videos on YouTube. And if 20 books hadn't put them out there for free for the last 5 years or however long it's been, it probably would seem like a better price for me. But to go from free to $349 seems like quite the jump. So
Yeah,
I don't
that's the
I don't think
jump.
I'm going to do that.
And even the self-publishing conference in London, I mean, you get the last digital ticket I bought was $90, which is
Yeah,
reasonable. You know, you can
yeah.
do that. But yeah, that is a lot. I won't bother going to look then.
But with all of that, I still want to go next year. I don't know if it's going to happen. It depends on a whole lot of things, but I do still want to go next year. I think at next year, about that time, is about time that I'll be finishing up. And boy, I added so much content to the series today that it might take me longer, and I'll talk about that later. But that'll be about the time that I feel like I'll be finishing up the editing of book 2, or maybe I'll have it back from the editor already, and I'll be ready to publish. And I really want to have some kind of, one of my 2025 goals is that I'm going to have some kind of a plan for releasing all of these books once they're all finished. And I don't want to just be like, yeah, I'll just throw them all out there, or I'll just throw them out there all haphazardly. I want to know what's working. And then I want to stick to that, every 3 months, every
Right.
90 days, every 6, whatever it is, every 30 days, whatever it is. I
Right.
want to be able to stick to this plan. So I think that would be if I was going to go to another conference, that would be the perfect time for me to go to one. And that's the best one. That's the biggest one. So why not? So
Right.
I still want to go. I'm going to try to make it work. We're still a year out, so who knows? But
Although I'll just put this in there. You can't find. I look for it. You can't find the attendance figures for it for
oh,
the conference. But from reading between the lines of what some people were saying, I think and I may be totally off base here, but my feeling is that the show is about half the size in terms of the number of attendees. So they were down. I think they were probably down in the low 1,000 range
mm-hmm.
instead of the 2,500 range kind of thing. And actually, for me, that would be a selling point.
Yes, me
2,500 is
too.
way too big.
Yeah.
Way too big.
My favorite one that I went to was the very first one in 2017 when there were 600 people there. It was
Yeah.
great.
Yeah.
It was like I talked to so many people that I never talked to, and I could talk. I remember stopping Brian Cohen as he walked by me, just stopping him and saying, "Hey, I have a question for you." And he's like, "Yeah, sure." And in the end, he gave me his email address. I sent him my blurb, and he basically worked for free with me over a couple of days of emailing back and forth to get my first blurb done. And I don't know if that's something you can do. I mean, maybe you can. These people are friendly, so maybe you can. But I agree with you. The less people, I feel like the better it is.
Right. Right.
So at Panera, I ended up creating a new chapter. This took me from 27 to 28 chapters. I finished chapter 7. I added 1,670 words. I created chapter 7B. I'll renumber it at the end. And I wrote 34 words into that chapter because I had this idea for a beginning. The problem is this chapter 7 had a really great cliffhanger, a stopping point for me. And I'm like, this is a great place to stop. I'll write another chapter with the second half of this as a new chapter and hopefully keep the people reading. So went home, stopped the grocery store like I do, came home, put everything away. And then I did something that was on my list that I've been talking about on this podcast for many, many years. And that is updating my website with all the information about the series I'm working on. And I changed some stuff around, changed the front page around, whole bunch of things I changed around. It literally took me from 1 p.m. to 7:20 p.m. to do, but that was also me watching football and getting up and eating dinner and playing with my dog and playing my APBA football game, all that stuff in between. And it took me, so by 7:20, I basically said, okay, I'm done. I recompiled it. I logged into my Chemi cloud and I uploaded it. So now if you go to my website here, I'll just flip to it for the YouTube people. It looks, it's not completely different. It looks, the same. But if you go to my website now, you see my message. And I don't even know if it's good or bad. Are people going to read that? I have no idea. I don't care. I just wanted to get that message up there for people who may or may not want to buy book 1, so they know that yes, book 2 is coming. This is my plan, and I hope that you will buy book 1, or maybe when I'm closer to having book 2 out there, you will then go buy book 1. So that is the plan.
The most amazing part about that story is that you didn't break it irretrievably while you were working on the website. Oh, man. I know you're a web developer, but still.
Oh no, as a computer programmer professionally since 1996, I have broken many a website, so it would not be out of the question to say that. Yeah. Let's see, and then so this was now me getting just over. So now I can cross that off my running list of future things to do, which I will do today, and it won't be there next week. So then Monday I worked from home all day. Now this was the week that it was Thanksgiving week. I'm home from work. I don't work in the office, and I knew that not being in the office is definitely going to cost me words, because when I'm at home, I just do not write well. So Monday I worked from home. There was no writing at lunch, obviously, because I don't write at home that well. But in the evening, I kind of did go to Panera. I forced myself, go to Panera. I hit my goal by about 100 words, but why not do some more? And it probably would be the last time I'd be writing all week, which it was. So I ended up skipping over chapter 7B. I hadn't really plotted that yet. And I went to chapter 8, and I wrote 902 words in chapter 8, which is what got me to around the 4,000 words that I had for that week. Tuesday, I worked from home again, nothing in the evening. Wednesday, I worked from home again. I kind of thought about going out into the world to find somewhere to go and write. I really did not want to go anywhere. The Wednesday before Thanksgiving is always super busy. I didn't want to deal with traffic, and I just didn't want to go anywhere. So I didn't go anywhere. Thursday, this is Thanksgiving Day. Happy Thanksgiving. Played my football game early in the morning, and then I headed over to my parents. Got there around 12. I tried to get there before the 12:30 game, which was your Lions, and watched that game, bet on that game like crazy, had a blast with it. Your Lions won. Your Lions haven't lost since I think like week 4, which I'm so jealous of it right now.
So from week 2, actually.
Week 2, okay, week 2.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That it's been like two Lions games in a row.
I just realized what game that was.
Yeah, where the ending was just unbelievable. I have no idea what the Bears coach was thinking, or if he wasn't even thinking. I think he just kind of zoned out.
Hey, be proud of your team. They got a head coach of a division rival fired. That's always fun.
That's true. That's
always fun to get that the next day.
And from what I read about the Bears fans, they were happy to lose to the Lions just to get rid of their coach.
Yeah. Oh yeah. So, I'm sure. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
There's a guy I watched, Tom Grossi, who.
I was going to mention him later as my new addiction. Yeah.
Yeah. He did one today. Did you watch the one today where it's Lions and Packers? I was going to send it to you. I'm glad you're watching it. He's fun. He's a big time Packers fan, but he's really funny in terms of just all the teams. He makes fun of all the teams. So,
you know what he gets, since we're talking about it now, you know what he gets so perfectly in those monologues where he goes back and forth between the two teams is the high ups and the very low lows, and the fact that they come one after another.
Right. Oh yeah. Have you watched any of his script writer ones where the NFL was scripted? Yeah, he gets all of his stuff, and sorry about the tangent here, but that's what we do. All of his stuff starts out in the beginning of the year funny, and then as the year goes on, it gets crazier and more outrageous to the point where you're like, what is going on here? He did a thing last year of what if the AFC North and the NFC North all lived together, and by the end of it, the Cincinnati Bengals fan or team, whatever it was shot and killed by somebody. I mean, it was just weird. So yeah, but I'm a big fan of his. So.
I love the little insertion there of Aaron Rodgers being a godfather.
Oh yeah, he's the Don. Yeah. And then you haven't seen Tommy DeVito yet, who comes in as the Don of the other New York team.
No, I did see that.
Oh yeah, okay, yeah, it's fantastic. So anyway,
took him for a long walk.
Yes, that's right. Go for a long walk. Yes. All right, so I got home from Mom and Dad's around 4. I want to get home before the second game. It's rare for me to do this, but I sat on Thanksgiving and watched every play of every game. There's a 12:30, a 4, and an 8:15. I watched every play of every game and had a blast. But I did want to check out. Dave Cheston had been emailing multiple times with Black Friday deals. He does it every year. I really like looking at them, and there were a couple of them that interested me. One of them was MailerLite. I know I'm gonna have to resubscribe at some point to start sending emails. And I figured, it was a pretty good discount, so why not? But I do remember getting an email from Marilite like 6 months ago, and they said if you don't start paying us by like November 2nd or something, we're gonna delete all your data. So I went in, I downloaded all my lists, so I have those in Excel. But the one thing I didn't download, I don't know if you can back up your automations or your history. Like I didn't back any of that up. So I logged in, and yeah, they weren't kidding. They deleted everything. It's as if I was a new customer, which annoyed me a little bit, but also I get it. They warned me ahead of time, but it does annoy me that all my automations are gone. I really like those. And now I'm not sure what happens if somebody were to buy my time travel book. What, if they sign up for the newsletter, where does the email address go? Nowhere. Like, I don't know what's going on there. So I need to do that.
Yeah.
Deal with that at some point.
Maybe I'll try to do that this evening after we're done, just to see what happens.
See if it goes out there.
But
so then I thought about, well, maybe I can go ahead and pay for it and get everything set back up, which is fine. Now I've been working on my website all day. I didn't really want to earlier in the week. I didn't want to spend hours again at my computer dealing with this. So I kind of put it aside for now. And then, I'm going to talk about that. So then, I decided to see if there were any other email services out there. Maybe before I go back to Marilite, maybe there's something out there that is out there that's better. And the very first link when I searched it was a Dave Chesson article about best email services for authors. And it was basically MailChimp, MailerLite, and what's the other one? It's expensive. It's the expensive one that.
There's Kit, which used to be ConvertKit.
Yeah, that's it.
And
ConvertKit. Yeah.
And then the other one is it starts with an A. Now I can't think of that one.
Yeah, I think it's going to be the one I talk about here in a second.
Yeah. Okay.
According to his list, MailerLite looks like it's going to be the best one, but I did hold off on signing up because, if none of my stuff is there, I can wait until January if I want to sign up. It's no big deal. But then that leads me to author.email. Is that the one you were thinking of?
No, it's a different one than that.
Okay. Okay. So the author.email is the one that I saw first in 2022 at 20 Books Vegas, where I was in a talk by Nick Thacker, and Nick Thacker is I think he's one of the owners, the founders. I don't know, the figurehead. I don't know what he is. I think he's one of the owners of it.
He's one of the owners, and basically it was co-founded by him and Kevin Tumlinson.
Okay, there you go. Yeah. I remember the last time I logged into it, it was very, very rough. It did everything you wanted it to do. It has all that stuff you want, but it was very rough looking. Well, it looks a lot better now. I logged into it again. I still have my account, and it's a lot cheaper than MailerLite, where MailerLite, I forget what the price is for MailerLite. It was like $10 a month for 1,000, or free up to 1,000, and then $10 for 2,000. It went up high. These guys are actually $10.99 a month for up to 9,999, so just under 10,000 subs, which is actually pretty interesting to me. I was looking at this when I saw that talk to begin with. The funny thing about Nick Thacker is when I was in I'm pretty sure that's the talk I was in at 20 Books Vegas in 2022. Yeah, 2022, when the fire alarm went off and we had to leave the talk and I'll go outside. And then we came back in and Nick just kind of went, okay, we're going to pick up from here. But he mentioned that author email. And so I looked it up back then. I really liked it back then. I liked the price of it. So I think it's something that I'm going to investigate when I'm ready to sign back up for email service.
Yeah. The only thing I remember, again, I like you, I looked at it very early on when the first base opened it up. And there wasn't really much. Well, let's put it this way: the automations were very rudimentary.
Okay.
Now, as an author, you may not, that might be fine. You don't need a very fancy marketing campaign, but that was me looking at it at a time back then when I had a account with Active Campaign, which is the one I was thinking of. An Active Campaign had been around for a long time, and it was extremely sophisticated. But it got really expensive, so I just canceled it, and I wasn't doing anything with email anyways. So yeah, I was going to go back to author email and take a look at that as well.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna take a pretty hard look at it. I know the automations are there. The only thing I checked with automation is that they're there. I didn't check to see what you could do, but I wanted to see the automations and the email list are really the only two things I care about. I do like the idea of being able to resend something if it's not open, like MailerLite allowed me to do. And I don't know if author email can do that or not, but it might be able to. I would assume so, but I don't know. Friday in the morning, my buddy Tim showed up around 9:45, and we do our traditional Black Friday shopping spree, which basically is us going to one of those angel trees at the mall, grabbing a couple of tags for kids, buying a bunch of stuff for them at Target, dropping it back off, and then that makes us feel better about the fact that we're about to spend a bunch of money on ourselves the rest of the day. So we did that. I actually bought a coat for the first time in like 20 years because I have this stupid walk now from the ground parking lot to my work that's 2.5 blocks, and it's cold in downtown Cleveland. The wind whips up. So there was a coat. It was a $160 coat that was on sale for $80, and so I was all for that, which was nice. We went to Best Buy. We went to Kohl's. I bought shoes. I bought shoes from a shoe store because I needed shoes. All kinds of just goofy stuff like that. At one point, on the Angel Tree, one of the boys wanted some Pittsburgh Steelers stuff. So me and Tim basically argued over who was going to have to touch it, and in the end, I won. So that means he had to touch it. And then, like I said, we dropped it. And then we end our shopping spree like we always do every year at a little restaurant called the Hot Dog Shop, which is like a little diner style hot dog place. And I'm not a huge hot dog fan, but this place makes the best chili dogs you'll ever eat in your life. And my lunch there is usually about $6, and it's fantastic. So we do that every year. Got home just before the football game, the Chiefs and Raiders. The Chiefs won, which is shocking, from some help from the refs, which is also shocking. And then in the evening, I started going through the Black Friday deals emailed to me for writers, which is, again, another Dave Chesson email. A couple of things caught my eye. By the way, I didn't do any of this, but they caught my eye. I'm always looking to see what the next writing software is out there. Something called Dabble, which I think has been around together, is basically an online version of Scrivener and Plotter in one, which really looks interesting. But the problem with these companies is that it's monthly subscriptions, and I don't want monthly subscriptions if I don't have to. I love Scrivener, and I bought Atticus, which at some point I will use for writing, but now I use it for formatting because I love it. But I still don't use it for writing, so I usually take Scrivener, put it into Atticus format, and that's how I handle everything. So Plotter, I love Plotter. I wish I had the want to use Plotter like it's supposed to be used. I just don't like all the scrolling that you have to do, especially left to right scrolling when you're building a big plot.
Right.
That's why I think I talked about it 2 weeks ago. I'd rather use my big bulletin over here that we built, bulletin board that I built, because I can see everything at once instead of having to worry about scrolling back and forth. But Plotter was good. Something called Campfire. Again, this is an online story plotting type thing. Monthly subs, so I kind of got away from it. And let's see here's what I did buy. So 100 Covers had a sale. 100 Covers. It was 50% off of everything. So basically an ebook only cover would be 50 instead of 100. Ebook with paperback would be 100 instead of 200, and the premium package which basically is ebook, paperback, and a whole bunch of marketing stuff would be 200 instead of 400. And I kind of sat there and thought, wow, do I really pay for all 8 of my covers or 9 of my covers that I want to get here? Because it's 50% off. I'm going to have to get those covers anyway. And after thinking about it, I kind of did the math and realized that next year at this time, I may only need 1 cover or 2 covers from them. And my guess is next year at this time, they'll have the same sale. So I ended up buying 3 of them, which is going to be book 3 once I'm ready for it. My prequel novella once I'm ready for it. And I just bought an extra one because why not? I bought a 4th one. So, and then, like I said, by the time I'm ready for book 4's cover, it'll be next year already. So.
Right. I saw that sale too, and I went to the site, but I just couldn't pull the trigger because scanning down through all the pre-made covers that they had there was just nothing that really spoke to me. Now, if I happen to be writing fantasy or urban fantasy or something, there was a lot of stuff there that you could really get into.
So mine's not pre-made though. They make it from scratch.
So you bought the okay. All right.
Yeah, I
didn't catch that.
Yeah. Which is good because they do. I mean, and they communicated. They did book 2, which is
okay.
I think it might be on my website. I don't know if it's on my website or not, but they did my book 2 cover.
Okay.
And I really like it. It looks so similar to the book 1 cover, which is the one that what's Mark Dawson's guy's name? If I didn't ask you,
Batch, not Bat. Something. It's just like Blatch, but not quite.
I don't remember. But anyway, the guy, he charges $500 to $600, and he does great work. But the 100 Covers one I just bought looks a lot like that one.
Right. Now that I'm thinking about it, maybe it wasn't 100 Covers I was looking at. I was looking at something else that was having a sale.
I bet you were looking at who's my guy that did my sci-fi novella covers. I'm gonna find it right now because I get emails from him all the time. Do you get emails from him? Are you on his list?
I don't know. Maybe
it is.
I get so many emails.
His name I think is James. goonright.com. Is that who it was?
Oh yeah, I think that's what it was. You're right.
Yeah, I bought my sci-fi prequel, my novella covers from him. So on my website, there's a little book called Origins. That is from him. Actually, you know what? My novellas that I'm writing for, I wrote a novella for this series I'm in right now, the murder mystery that's out there now. That's also through him, and I think he does good work with if you can find the right pre-made cover that you like.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. Where was I at? I lowered my. Here we go. So this was Sunday. Let's see. So yeah, I went to the casino. Wait, are we on Sunday already? Holy cow! Yeah,
no, Saturday.
We're on. Yeah, so Saturday. That was the covers thing was the last thing I want to talk about for Saturday, where I bought 3 of them. Oh no, we're on Saturday. Yeah, so Saturday morning. This is last Saturday. I went to casino first. Quickly won money, which is great. And I was kind of annoyed that I won so quick because I wanted to stay longer. I hate when that happens. Where I spin, I hit a bonus after about 3 minutes. I win my $40. I'm like, well, I guess I'm going to go now, even though I want to stay, but I know what the rules are here. So 140 or bust. So I left. I actually was up 65. But I'm glad that I did because it turned into a really expensive day. And tomorrow is going to be another one of those. So I went to Chick-fil-A and I worked on chapter 7B. I added 1,567 words to it. And then I went over to Office Max. I bought another webcam for playing my fantasy football game, and it turns out, or my APBA football dice board game. It turns out, Rich, I didn't know if you knew this, but you can only have so many cameras on the bus, whatever it's called, of your computer. I didn't know this, so I have one here that you can't see. I have one up here that you can't see, and then I have the one right here. And I wanted to buy a 4th, and I plugged it in. It's not working, and I started doing some research, and it turns out you can only have probably 2 external to go along with your internal. You can't have a 3rd one. There's got to be a way to make this work. I just don't know what it is, but I was disappointed.
Well, I know people that do record podcasts and streams and stuff like that. No, not streams so much, but that do production work, post-production work. They have like just standalone digital cameras that they record video on, and then they just and then you can pull it all into Premiere or whatever and sync it up to however you want. So
yeah, I would probably need a second computer back here to plug this laptop or buy a camera. I don't want to use my phone because I'll record for like an hour and I get stuff on my phone while I'm recording that I want to be able to pay attention to.
Right.
Yeah, so I'll have to figure that out. But I'm building like a TV studio back here. Home after that, and I basically watched the Ohio State Michigan game, which was pretty surprising. Did you watch that?
No, I did not. That was I think it was Sunday. Oh, it's working Sunday.
It was Saturday.
Oh, Saturday. I was working Saturday. So
okay, yeah, it's pretty surprising, which was interesting. But then I did a huge order. I didn't expect to do this, but I went basically to Amazon and I did a huge order from everybody's wish list except for a couple people. By the time I was done, I had some stuff for me, some stuff for like my sister and my niece and my dad and just a bunch of stuff and that's being shipped throughout the week. I'm just getting items every day.
Actually, this is a Saturday after Thanksgiving, right?
Correct.
Yeah, I was on the road. That's what I was doing.
You're on there. Okay. And then I officially bought the 3 covers from 100 Covers. I did it the next day. And then after that, I watched. So I talked about that I-90 race, the electric cars, where they're like a 3.5 hour video, and I watched 3 consecutive Saturday nights, 3.5 hour video. Thank God it was over because it was taking up so much of my Saturday night. And then one of the guys who I like, who drove the Hyundai Ioniq 6, made his own 3.5 hour video. So I sat and watched that Saturday night, which it had me staying up until midnight, which is never good because Sunday I woke up around 6 a.m. so tired. Tried to sleep more, and I maybe got another hour or so, and I woke up stuffy and a headache and all the stuff that I wake up with when I stay up too late, but then don't get enough sleep the next morning. So I really had to force myself to go write. This is one of those days where I'm going to go to Panera and write. It's a perfect time to do it. Football doesn't start till 1. I got 4 or 5 hours to kill, but I really, really had to push myself to go do it. And once I got there, I ate breakfast. Then I only wrote for about 45 minutes. I added 998 words to chapter 8, which is less than the 1,500 I try to usually get on the weekends. But I did finish chapter 8, which I was pretty happy about. And then when I got home, I didn't do much of anything else except watch football all day. Wow, I'm taking a lot of time here. Monday.
Well, that's okay because I don't have anything to say.
Okay, so we're finally on week 2 now. Monday, I was back in the office, avoiding the east side of Cleveland got crushed with just feet of snow. I have friends that live up there. One of my friends, she was sending me pictures of her backyard. It's just feet of snow. And the whole time I'm looking outside going, I've got nothing. And then I drove to work Monday, and I drive, the Turnpike West up to, and then 77 North right into downtown Cleveland. Nothing the entire trip there. So I'm just amazed that I live, 40 to 45 minutes away from her on the east, up on the east by the lake, and I got nothing, and she's getting feet of snow. It was just amazing.
It's just that lake effect. That lake effect snow early in the season before the lakes freeze over.
It's like a machine. It just turns on and just doesn't turn off. So at lunch, I began working on chapter 9, and when I was finished, I actually moved the first part of it to the end of chapter 8 because, again, another good cliffhanger line to get me from 8 to 9. And then I added 1,093 words to, or then I worked on chapter 9. I ended up adding 1,093 words to both of those chapters, which really is, I believe, all the words I had all day. So doing the quick math, 2,000, that's about 3,500. So it's actually more than I thought. 3,500 for the week because I did not write the rest of the week. But more importantly, I had an idea. I guess I didn't write anything about Brandon Sanderson in this part of the outline, so I'll talk about it when I get to where would I add it? Oh, the addicted to. That's right. So I had this idea about what I wanted to do with my novella. I wanted another novella to put somewhere in the series, and I wanted one of the suspects on the boardwalk in book 7 to have this weird history with Sam, my main character, but I didn't want a relationship. That was the cliche. That's where you go with it. I wanted something completely different than that. So what I did was I went to ChatGPT and just started asking it for options. I explained everything that was going on. And after a while, I ended up with the idea of, in the past, Sam had broken into her shop, gone through her files, and then accused her of a crime. And then I was like, I like this a lot, but let's add in that they went out once. And then before the second day, everything went well, but before the second date, he had done all this stuff, accusing her of a crime. She's never really gotten over it. She's kind of pissy with him all the time. And so Sam walks into this shop in book 7 with his new girlfriend, and it goes kind of haywire from there in book 7. So then I thought, now I need... Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say, is Sam actually a private detective at this point, or what?
No, he's still computer programmer, amateur sleuth, basically.
Okay, amateur sleuth.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so... And I love and what's cool about it is in book, the prequel novella that takes place 5 years earlier, he had broken into a store also. This kind of thing, it's his thing. So it fit well 5 years later, and it's going to fit well in this book 7 when he does it again. And then his current girlfriend's going to kind of make fun of him for, I see this is your thing, something like that just for fun. So, let's see what else. Yeah. So the problem is now I have a scene in a novella to write, but I have no plot for that novella. I have no idea what's going to happen in this novella. I just have a scene that I'm like, yeah, I like this. I'm going to put history with them in book 7, the one I'm writing right now. But if I put that history in there, I'm going to have to answer that history at some point and write that novella. Cause that's a scene that you can't just blow off. I think the reader needs to see that at some point. So putting in a novella and making it happen 5 years earlier, I think is a fun idea. So
I have to say this because I gotta get it out of my head, or else it's going to stick in my head. And what you saying that his current girlfriend is just going to laugh, breaking into stores is kind of your thing. The first thing that rushed into my mind is the girlfriend going, ha ha ha, throwing bags of kittens into the river is your thing. And
is that a thing? I don't know what that is.
No, but it's the same kind of deal.
Yeah. No, it's going to be a little different than that, but yeah. It's going to be a little different than that, but yeah. And I'll talk about that in a minute, because today was an interesting day. So in the evening, I end up playing my dice football game and making some dinner and watch the Browns not play well. I think they lost 100-25. I can't remember what the exact score was, but it was not good. I actually went to bed in the middle of the third quarter. It was the Monday night game against Denver. I think the final score was 43-32, something ridiculous like that.
Yeah, it was actually, it was kind of a close game, but at the end, but
well, I did have Denver's defense in a couple of my fantasy leagues, and they did have 2 pick sixes, so I was pretty happy with that.
That was a game where Jameis, now I can't even remember his last name. Winston, right? I wanted to say Wilson. Jameis Winston threw for 500 yards.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
and the next
4
day,
touchdowns and 3 picks or something.
Right. And the next day, 2 pick sixes is what he had. Mm-hmm. And the next day, Rich Eisen was on radio, was crowning him the most entertaining quarterback in the league. So,
Yeah, the Browns went from the least likable person as their quarterback in the league to the most fun to watch player in the
right,
league. Absolutely.
right.
Yeah. So Tuesday was a weird morning for me. I woke up. It was snowy, not too bad. It was snowy though. I decided I was going to work from home. I woke up at 5 and just went, nope, not doing this, because I stayed up to watch. I was up pretty late to get to the third quarter of the Browns game. So I went back to bed, and then I got up at like 6:15, and I realized at like 6:20 before I got in the shower that, oh, the electrician's coming tomorrow, and if I work from home today, the electrician, I have to go in tomorrow and have to figure out what to do with the electrician. He does the maintenance on my furnace every 6 months, my air conditioner. And I was in the shower and I was just like, screw it, I'm going in today. So I hopped out of the shower, got dressed, and left a few minutes before 8. I left around 7:05, and I got there a few minutes after 8. And once I was there, I was so happy I was there, because it meant I did not have to go in the next day, which was great. And it was a good day. It was fine. Everything worked out okay. I still left at my normal time. I just did not write. This was the thing. I took a very, very short lunch because I wanted to leave at 4:30. And if I'd have done any writing, I had to stay until at least 5 or 5:30. So there was no writing on this day. And then Wednesday and Thursday, I left blank on the outline just because nothing happened. We literally got snow for 36 hours. It's awful. Last night was worse than Wednesday night. I got about 4 to 5 inches out there. The roads are a mess. I just hate snow so much. I want it to go away. And then this morning I woke up on a half a day. I only have 2 half a days left. One of them will probably be next Friday, and then I have to work out what the other one's going to be, because my coworker, who I have to, him and I always make sure that someone is working, someone is online in case there's a problem. One of us can fix it. Well, his wife is expecting a baby sometime in the next 3 weeks, and he's like, at some point when she gives birth, I have to be off, because he's got a ton of vacation days. I'm like, that's fine. So I probably can't take that last one on the 20th, which is when I want to do it, the Friday the 20th, because he's probably going to be off that day. So I might have to do it like Friday next week, and then the following Monday or something like that. So,
right.
So today was one of my half days. And I went to the casino first, and I didn't win. It was not a good casino day today. I gave back basically all the money that I've won the last couple weeks going there. Then I went to Buffalo Wild Wings to write, but this is where I did not write into book 7. I'm going to talk about why I'm doing this when I get to the addicted part. But what I wanted to do is, I'll go over it now. I spent a lot of time watching Brandon Sanderson's 2020 lectures to his class over the last 2 weeks. I've already watched them all. I watched especially episode 9, which I will link to in this show notes, because it's all about characters. He talks about what the characters' motivations are, and then he starts talking about the side characters, how, if you have like you have the sidekick, you have the love interest, you have the mentor. He's like, when you label people that, you really take away from the idea of making them truly fleshed out characters, which I'm looking at what I'm writing. I'm like, that is 100% true. I wrote the love story, and she's boring. She's the love story in book 1. It goes great, but the rest of her time in the books, which she's in a lot of them, are boring. My sidekick is the same way. He literally is just a sidekick. It's so boring. And I really wanted to have an arc for all of them. So today I sat down, I opened up ChatGPT, I typed a whole bunch of stuff in about what I'm working on, and then I started with Danny, the love interest, and I'm like, I want an arc for her that she goes throughout the series. It doesn't have to end in episode 9, or book 9, which hers is probably ending in book 9, but it doesn't have to. And now I've got this whole arc that she goes through. Now everything is from Sam's point of view, so he's part of it, but I told ChatGPT, I don't want him being the protagonist of her arc. I want it to be her, because that would make more sense. And if you think about TV shows, the sidekicks every now and then, or the side characters, somebody got a promotion, the main character is this person over here, but you're also following along with these other characters as they live their lives. And I really wanted that. So I worked on Danny's first and got something I think could be really fun. It's going to take a lot of work to get it into the story and make it work well. It also overlaps with some of Sam's stuff really well, which I'm happy about. And then I went to Linus. Linus is the sidekick. He's the Hastings. He's the Dr. Watson. I wanted something for him too. I just didn't want him to be the sidekick in every episode, every book that, helps Sam. And then when Sam solves it, everybody's happy and it's over. I wanted something to happen with Sam also, so that he had his own story arc. And by the time I was done, he was quitting his job in book 8, where he works with Sam, and opening up his own little business that is going to, I think, work with Sam if I decide to write more stories down the road. Then I went to Officer Beaumont, who gets introduced in book 2, and I wanted an arc for him, but his arc is probably going to end with his death. He's kind of the mentor figure to Sam, and I think his arc is going to end with his death in book 8. I'm not sure yet. And that's probably going to be like, obviously it's going to be Beaumont's climax, but it's going to be one of Sam's lowest moments, which in a 9-book series, having your lowest moment somewhere near the end of book 8, I think works out well in terms of like the hero's journey and the 3-act structure and all that good stuff. So I worked for about 2 hours getting the arcs for all of them finished. And now what I have to do, and this is going to be the hard part, is I have to go through and figure out where in each book these story points for these other characters are going to come into play. And I can't just put them in out of the blue. They have to mesh with the plot of the book well. Right. And that, I think that's going to be tough, but because all 3 of these people interweave with Sam's stories, I think I can mix them up pretty well and get everything where I want to get it. So I spent a couple hours doing that today. I don't know if you've watched any of those or what you think of what I'm talking about.
I did a long time ago. One thing off the top of my head, again, in that article in The Guardian today about Brandon Sanderson, the author of the article made the observation that Sanderson has the opinion that why write a sentence when you can write a paragraph instead?
Yeah.
So he ends up like 200,000 word doorstops of stories. And also, it's important to remember that Sanderson writes ensemble stories. There is no pure single protagonist or antagonist. It's like a Tolkien Lord of the Rings kind of style. And I think in mysteries, especially, you don't want to get too carried away with that.
Sure.
Because you don't want people to wander away from what the central focus of the story is supposed to be. Because it's not a quest story, so there's not a lot of things going on.
That's going to be the hard part. That's going to be the hard part.
Right.
I don't want to make their arcs bigger than the story or Sam's arc itself. Exactly. So that's kind of what I'm working through right now. It's almost, again, it's like a puzzle. So that's kind of what I'm working through.
I wrote a story. I worked on a book, and I finished a book that had a protagonist and a sidekick and a sidekick to the sidekick, essentially, a love interest. And then, of course, the antagonist. I was going to give them all arcs, and I gave them all arcs. And the problem was that halfway through his story, the sidekick's arc became much more interesting than the protagonist. And so the thing I wrote it to the end, but by the end, it was like, this story just doesn't work because I've switched the focus halfway through, and it just,
that was one of the things we talked about. He's a really, really good teacher because I've never seen anyone else who teaches writing be so open-minded about all the different things you can do. Mm-hmm. Like, he doesn't say no to anything. If somebody wants to write a story, he just says, yes, do it. And then I really enjoyed, he actually talked about indie publishing and said like the nicest things about it, which not surprised me, but it was nice to hear from a traditional published author how they're like, yeah, that's an option too. In fact, if you're his thing was, if you're a mid-list author and you don't know if you're ever going to go any farther than that, you should be indie published because you can make so much more money doing it that way, and you have a lot of control and speed. So I really enjoyed the series. This is the series that happened during COVID because between book episodes 10 and 11, he went from being in the classroom to behind a camera. So it's a really good series, and I've watched the whole thing again over the last 2 weeks, and I watched episode 9 3 times. It's just, and I'm going to try this. I know that what you're saying about don't make the side characters plots more exciting or interesting than the plot of the book or the plot of the entire arc for Sam. But I don't want those characters to just be there just for the sake of like, okay, Sam needs people to talk to, so I'm just creating these people. I want them to be as human as possible, living their own lives. In fact, I think one of the things he said was for each of those characters, they're the center, they're the protagonist in their own story. And so I want to try to flesh them out a little bit better. I kind of stopped at those 3. There are some other characters. Actually, there's a 4th, but his arc is going to be played out basically in one book. And it is central to the mystery of that book. So I like that one. And I thought, is there anybody else? And I'm like, nah, there's really just not anybody else that's important enough in multiple books that their arc matters. So
right. Back when Sanderson was doing that class at BYU, if I'm not mistaken, he was still with Tor at that time. And I don't think he had anything independently published. And now 4 years later, he is the most successful independently published person because he has his own publishing company. Time, given what he's done in terms of Kickstarters and just book, millions of book sales and things. And the thing that instigated his move basically away from traditional publishing and into having his own publishing company, which he calls Dragonsteel, where they're doing books and games and I believe they're doing comics as well, doing things. He's got all his friends from college are working for him. Dan Wells is there, and what instigated that whole thing was that sometime in the late 90s when Amazon and the traditional publishers, I don't know if you remember this or not, had that kerfluffle about who was going to make how much percentage on the sales of books and what they were going to be priced at. And Amazon just one day took down all the Brandon Sanderson's books.
Oh.
He just completely disappeared off Amazon. And it was at that point that he said to himself that, I'm not working for my publisher and I'm not working for my editor or my agent. I'm suddenly working for Amazon because Amazon has the power to completely wipe me out of the market. So it was at that point he said, I got to get out of this ecosystem. I can't be in here. Maybe I can have my foot in there, and sell some ebooks or something, but the bulk of what I do has to be someplace else. And that's when he started his own publishing company. And of course, the Kickstarter when they pulled in 45 million or whatever it was, gave him a big leg up in actually getting that thing going. I mean, he owns his own, or I don't know if he owns them, but he leases his own warehouses where he has hundreds of thousands of his own books.
It's funny. I don't know his history at all. I just know that watching the classes and I know the Kickstarter. I really know nothing about him. That's funny.
Yeah. So he is basically he is basically a publishing company now.
Yeah.
In fact, I'm trying to think now on some of these podcasts I listen to, he may be publishing other authors now as well.
Okay.
Under Dragonsteel imprint.
Yeah.
So anyways, I just dropped that in there because that's kind of interesting. That at that point in 2020, he was thinking about self-publishing. That's kind of maybe the thing to do.
So. I didn't know that, and if you listen to him talk, I didn't get that impression from listening to him talking to that class that was going on. Also, I just thought, he's really nice toward indie publishing. I like it. You don't hear that very often.
Well, yeah, I think back in 2020, that was probably he didn't really talk about much in his class because I think at that point it was just kind of an idea that he was kicking around, maybe talking with his wife or talking with some of the people he trusted in the industry, and hadn't really gone to the point where it had blown up like it has now. And it's really only blown up in the last couple of years.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I feel like the Kickstarter is what blew it up, but you're saying he was doing stuff before that.
Well, I think he was starting to move away. He was plotting and planning to move away from the Amazon ecosystem. Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's it. We made it, Rich. We made it. We've had technologies issues. The internet gods keep wanting me to shut up by kicking one of us off. I don't know who, but we made it to the end of my week in review. So now let's move on to yours. I assume we're going to go another hour here.
Yeah. Well, no, mine's going to be real quick. Week before last, out of the 7 days, I spent 4 of them traveling. 2 weeks ago, Monday and Tuesday, we drove up to Virginia. Nice, smooth trip, no problems. Spent 3 days with my in-laws, which is great. My brother-in-law came down to Delaware to watch the football game with me, and some other football games. We just basically sat around and ate and kibitzed back and forth. My father-in-law wasn't doing good because he's got a really weird thing going on. Is that for about a year now he's been nauseous, and they've done every test they can think of, and they can't find anything wrong with them at all. The upper and lower GI is fine, and all the CAT scans and MRIs and everything's fine. They're doing one more test next week, which is called a stomach emptying test. He may have a partially paralyzed stomach, which apparently can sometimes happen after major surgeries that you have. And he has had 2 major surgeries in the last couple of years, quadruple bypass and also a spinal surgery. And they don't really know if it's related to nerve damage, if it's related to the anesthetic or what. But so that may be causing a problem. But maybe they'll find out after Tuesday. Then we drove back on Saturday and Sunday. Got home in time to go to bed and wake up the next morning and go to work. So I worked Monday through today and didn't do any writing at all because I was just kind of, I guess, goofing off. I was kind of catching up on the week that I missed at work, where the stuff that I usually maintain had not been maintained by anybody. So I had to go back and and take care of all that stuff. And I'm hoping this coming week, where I only have to work Monday through Thursday, will be a little bit better, and I'll be able to have some time to do some editing or maybe some fresh writing. We'll see. One thing, we are going to be shorthanded. We were shorthanded today. We will be tomorrow. I had to work the teen room. Okay, the teen room is the deadest part of the library. It's really amazing because, of course, teens, they're not going to approach an adult and ask a question. So you can sit there at that teen desk for hours on end, and nobody will come up to you and ask you anything. So you can sit there and write, and I'm going to maybe try that tomorrow. We'll see what happens.
Go. I mean, would you have like a whole day?
I could if I wanted to, because the teen librarian is out, which is why we're short staffed. And I could just tell my reference boss that, I don't mind sitting there in the teen room. Yeah. She does not like it. She does not like dealing with teens. She's a very nervy person. And so, I'm getting a little bit of a reputation, I think, in the library. Oh, no. I think I told you I'm the only guy there. I'm one of two guys. The other guy is kind of meek, mild, small, and is very quiet, introverted. And I'm 6'1" and I weigh 220. And as I told one of the librarians when we were trying to get people out the door, she said, "Could you go talk mean to them to get them out because they're not leaving?" I said, "Yeah, I don't care. I can talk mean to people, but I don't talk to mean to people. I just, like I told you, I just go there and I gently encourage them in increasingly stringent tones to get their butts out of the chairs and move."
It's a very nice way of putting it.
Yeah. I work Monday through Thursday. Friday I have off. So yeah.
You have a goal? Anything in mind you want to do?
Write and edit, but I don't have any particular goal now.
All right, mine is basically that I'm going to do everything that I always do. Chick-fil-A tomorrow and write, Panera Sunday and write. I have a dentist appointment on Monday. I'll work from home, and then Tuesday through Thursday I'll try to get back, and I'll be back in the office and try to write as much as I can. We have a Christmas party Wednesday, so that won't happen.
Yeah. I've kind of decided I would like to do some stuff, but it is the holidays and there's all kinds of other pressures. So there's no reason to push yourself too hard.
I want to finish this first draft of book 7 before the end of the year. I don't think it's going to happen, but I really want to get it finished so that I can go into next year with just 3 books left.
Right. Well, you definitely need to get 11,000 words in so you can say you made 200,000 words.
I do, and I think I can do that. That. I got basically 3 weeks left. That's 7,000. No, it's 3,500 a week, whatever it is. So I know I can do that. So we're having all kinds of technical problems here. One of us keeps getting kicked offline. So we're going to go ahead and call it the end of the podcast right now. We'll get into some of the stuff we didn't talk about next week in terms of our Dick 2 and our running list. So if you want to get in touch with me, you can email me, jerry@jerryevanoff.com. The website is jerryevanoff.com. Check it out. I made a bunch of changes to it. Let me know what you think. And then we have a whole bunch of other links that are in the show notes that you can go to.
Yeah, and the best place to find me actually is on Blue Sky at Kacy himself. I'm pretty active on there nowadays. And drop by to Blue Sky, get an account if you don't already have one. All the cool kids are coming over there now. And the cool kids are coming because all the trolls are starting to follow them. So
all right, everyone, that's going to be it for this week. Thanks for listening, and we'll talk to y'all next week.
Yeah, have a great week.